Good morning, C.
Good morning.
Okay. So let me just give me 1 second so I can post what we need to the Google Classroom so you can make forks out of them, and I'll let you know when I do, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, they should be posted now. So make a fork out of the one that's called the template.
I haven't.
Okay. Okay, and then also make a fork out of the one that I put in the chat right now, which is the one we're going to start with, okay? It's inline versus block elements.
I haven't.
Okay, so let me switch my screen. All right, so I actually posted a video on this if you want to look at that later. It's the same thing, but I'm going to just go over it here. So there is actually something called block element and inline element in HTML. So if you could see right here, I actually color coded, I have two paragraphs, one is red, one is blue, and paragraphs are actually block elements. And what this means is that when there is a paragraph after another paragraph, for example, we have paragraph 1 here, which is red. If I add another paragraph, so in this case, paragraph 2, instead of continuing on the same line, so right after this last paragraph 1, it's going to continue in a new line. So it starts here, right? You can see the difference between block elements and inline elements when if you add another link after, let's say, this link 1, which is red, it's actually in the same line instead of being in a new line. And so this is actually useful to know because with navigation bars, which you're going to see in a second, we use unordered lists, and lists are usually in block elements because they're all on top of one another, but we want our links or our bar, because the bars are horizontal, so we want them to be in the same line. And so we're going to use this property called display to do so. So I'm going to show you this in 1 second. So if we switch over to style.css, we could do certain things. So for example, for the block elements, we could actually change the paragraphs to be inline elements so that paragraph 2 actually starts in the same line as paragraph 1 or where it leaves off. So the way we do this is we target, oh wait, so if you take a look at index.html, I actually added an ID. So for paragraph 1, I did P1, for paragraph 2, I did P2, and then for the links, I did link 1 and link 2. Okay, so that's where I'm getting that from. So again, when we target IDs, we use hashtags. So I'm going to do paragraph 1, brackets, and then inside I'm going to use this property called display. I'm going to set the display equal to inline so that when you run it, sorry, you have to do both of them, excuse me. Inline. Okay, there we go. So when you run it, you're going to see that paragraph 2 continues on the same line where paragraph 1 left off. So as you can see now, it's called, now they're displayed as inline elements. They're in the same line, okay? They don't create a new block. Oh, excuse me, someone just entered. Hi, Janelle, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. We were just going over inline and block elements. Okay, so now we can do the same thing for links. Links right now are in the same line. As you can see, they're in the same line. We want them to be block elements. We want them to be how the paragraphs were. So we want this link to be starting in a new line. So the way we do this is, again, we target link 1, okay? And we say display, set that equal to block, semicolon, and then we're gonna do the same thing for link 2, set display equal to block. You're going to run that, and you're going to see now that link 2 in blue is now under link 1, and now they're block elements. So now they've switched, okay? So that's the difference between block and inline elements and how you can change them to be either or with CSS. And I'm going to show you how useful that is in 1 second when we do the navigation bar. Okay, so while you're copying that, I'm just going to talk about what we're going to do today. So today we're actually going to I'm going to actually guide you through through the homepage of your website, because there's the structure that I want to go over, and there's also 2 things that I have to show you. One about the blogs and about like floating, and then how to add like a showcase. So I have to show you that. And then from tomorrow on until Thursday, I believe, you're going to work on that. If you have any questions, I'm actually going to give you my personal email because I don't think my work one is working. So you can contact me through there, and I'll help you if you need it throughout that time. And then on Thursday, any like final things that you need, I'll be on here the entire time. And then Friday's presentation day. If you feel like it, you still have until Thursday to let me know. And so do you have this?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, so let me go ahead and delete that because this is the template. Okay. Let me run that again, just to make sure I deleted everything. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me go to the actual project template that I had you fork this morning. Okay. All right. So to save time, I actually gave you, let's see. I gave you the HTML for the index, which is the home page. And I also gave you, I outlined the CSS for you for the index, which is the home page. Maybe I shouldn't name it home page, but the index is the home page, okay? So I'm just gonna talk about it. I'm not going to, write it out because I want you to really understand this and we want to save some time here. So I'm actually going to show you, let me share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so the structure of our web page starts like this. So we first have our header. Okay, so this is our header. And what goes into your header is basically the title of your web page. Then we have our navigation bar. So our navigation bar is basically where the links are going to go and where we're going to use the display property I'm going to show you. Then this kind of depends. So this would be good for like like your blog homepage, not your blog homepage, like your blog tab, where you could have an article and then you have a header inside and then sections and then you have a side. But we're not going to be using this side. We're just going to be using this main block right here. And inside the main block, actually, give me 1 second. Let me clear this up. So we're going to be using the header. We're going to be using the navigation bar. We're not going to be using an article, but we are just going to have a main block right here, and we are going to be using a footer. So I'm actually going to show you a little bit, something that's a little bit more close to what we're going to do. Let's see. Let me share my tab again. Okay. So again, we have our navigation bar, which is what we're going to be doing. So first it's going to be the header up here, which we're going to add it, then our navigation bar. We're not going to have any subheaders, but what we're really going to focus on is this thing right here, which is the showcase. So that's what I'm going to show you. We're not going to do any services for our homepage, none of this, none of that. Just our header, our navigation bar, our showcase, and our footer. Okay, so that's the structure of our web page that we're going for our home page. Now for other pages, for other tabs like your blog or your work, etc., or your contact, that's up to you. You can change it as how you want, but I'm going to show you how to do a normal structure for your home page. So let me go ahead and go back to sharing my Replit. Okay. Okay. So I believe that when you fork it, you have this, right? Only the index.html.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing, again, is the main header. So the main header, you have this element called header. So it's very simple. It's what it is. It's header. And then inside, you can put pretty much anything you want. So think of it as another, like, Think of it as like another division. Instead of a division, basically, it's kind of just telling the browser more information. It's being specific about what it is. It's a header, so it says, okay, well, this is a header. But you can do the exact same thing with the division tag. Just say, oh, like, this is my header. Call it like class, like ID header. Say it like that. But there's an actual element for it, so there's no need to do that. So think of it as another division, as another container, as another box, whatever you want to think of it as. So this is the header right here. Not the actual text that I'm highlighting. The text is the actual heading 1, but the header would be pretty much this space right here. Okay, and then we have the navigation bar. So the navigation bar, we start with this element called section. Now you might be wondering, okay, well, what's the difference between section and a div tag? Well, again, div tags, you can pretty much do all of this with just div tags, but sections are more specific to the browser. Again, I mentioned the difference between semantic tags, not the difference between semantic tags, but what semantic tags are. So like tags that you can use in HTML to style, but they're not really for styling. They're more to tell the browser more information about your page. So this is basically a semantic tag. It tells the browser more information about your page, but it's not used for styling. And it's not used as a div tag. So you could do the same thing with a div tag, but the section tag says, okay, well, this is an actual section of this page. So it's kind of, similar, but it has its differences, right? So we want to give it an ID called Navbar, and then inside here we have a div tag, right? So now we have a div tag and we have a container. So again, I mentioned container when we were doing HTML. So the containers basically, think of it as another screen, as another box. So you're just kind of shortening the size of your screen on your web page. So basically all your content is going to go in this container. And in this case, for the container, we're only doing, it actually closes right here. So this is basically the only container is for the actual unordered list. So I'm going to show you why that's useful in a second. Let me move on. And then finally, the showcase is where we're going to have like this big image or this, what do you call it? Like it could be a video, anything. So it's again another section. To be specific, we give it an ID showcase because there's only going to be one showcase on this page, right, on your home page. So we want to use IDs. Again, a container, and then you close in the container, and inside the container there's an about me heading, and then there's a little heading 2 with a little description. And then finally footer. So your footer is, again, there's an element called footer. You want to give it an ID main footer. And then this is something that I didn't teach you, but these are basically called like codes. So you just write copyright and then and copy 2021, and that's going to give you the symbol for the copyright. Okay, and you can actually see all of that right here. So this is pure HTML without the CSS. I'm going to show you what this looks like with the CSS, which I already showed you last week. Let me just pull that up really quickly. Okay. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So let me actually open developer tools so while I'm like highlighting it, you could see what I'm talking about. Let me do this real quick. Let me click on HTML. Okay. All right. It's a little messy right now.
Don't you use like the flex box to kind of even out the page?
Yeah, but we didn't use that today. I'm not going to show Flexbox.
Okay.
Yeah, I used that with my third project. Not this one, because with this one, I just did box sizing, but I didn't get to that. So,
I remember Flexbox being a little tricky.
Yeah, that's why I was like, let me not add that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna use my pen here. There we go. Okay, so this is the header here, right? So this would be what you would call your header. Okay. Then you have your navigation bar, which apparently is the same color as your header, but if I actually change the color, you're going to see that you could see the difference. Let me actually do that. Let me go to index.html and change the color of the navigation bar. So actually not HTML. Where is it? CSS. We can change the color of our navigation bar. Let me change it to be something like coral. Run that. Oh, remove that hex. You don't have to do this. I'm just showing you. Okay, so now you can actually see the difference between the header and the navigation bar. So this is the header right here, and then the navigation bar is in coral. Then you have the showcase. So the showcase is basically this image. So you have about me, and you have this little heading too that I told you, and then finally the footer, which is copyright. Let's see, where did I go? The footer, which is copyright, and then 2021. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So I'm gonna actually show you how to do this with Canva. I actually posted a Canva template. So the point is, what I did, let me actually show you. So for the actual background image, this is what I uploaded. I actually added the about me and the heading too. Excuse me, and the heading too by myself, like using positioning, which I showed you, I believe, on Friday. So that's where you're going to practice positioning in the box. I'm going to get to that in a second. So let me show you the CSS now. Okay. So this is the index.html. Move on to the CSS. Okay, so we're going to go to, where is it? Index.css. Okay. So this is what our page looks like now. It's pure HTML, and all we have to do is add CSS, and it's going to turn to what I showed you before. Okay. So for the header, we're going to start with the header. Okay, so see, let me know when you're there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. So this is basically going to be, I'm just going to show you how to do the homepage for my website. You can do this again, or you could just simply just copy the code that I wrote and just modify it for what you want your homepage to look like. And yeah, it doesn't really, as long as you actually understand, as long as you practice, and then I don't really care if you just copy the entire website, just modify it for yourself, but as long as you understand the code, that's the goal here. So let's get started. So for the header, we want to first target the actual main header. So if we go back to index.html to check what it is, the ID is main header. So let me just copy and paste that. Index.css. So let's do hashtag main header, target it. Okay. Let me move this bracket to the end right here. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is set the background color for the main header. So again, we're going to do background color for the property and set the value equal to, what's the color that I used? I think it was started with like 4.9. Let me see. It was, you can use any color, but I'm going to use the one that I used, which is 4869 5C. Okay, so 4869 5C. Okay, run that. And now we have our whole background here. Okay. So I told you that I was actually going to explain what the purpose for the container was. So for the container, the reason we added it after the actual nav bar itself Oh wait, we're not there yet. Actually, sorry about that. That's with the navigation bar, not the header. Let me go back to index.css and then we'll get to that later. Sorry about that. So then we're going to set the color for the text for the main header. And so I want to set the color to white because black is a little hard to see. So you can change this to your name or my website, etc. But when it comes to the project, it's going to be a portfolio of you. So usually it would be your name or maybe like, I don't know, or just something that you, like maybe a saying or something, I don't know. But I would put my name if it's like a portfolio website, which is what the project is. It's about you, it's showing your work, etc. So I'm putting my name, I'm going to set the color equal to white, and then I'm going to add a padding of 20 pixels to the main header. And if we run that, that's just going to give some spacing in between the text and the actual header, okay? So you can see the difference there. Okay, let me know when you are done with the header because that's all there is to the header.
Done.
Okay. So moving on to the navigation bar, now this is where the display property comes in, and this is also where the container comes in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to target the navigation bar. I'm pretty sure it's an ID. Let's check. Better be safe than sorry. Yes, it is an ID and it's Navbar. Okay, so let's copy that. Paste that in. Bracket. Let me actually move the bracket to the end right here. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is set the background color for the navigation bar. So in my original one, I set it equal to the same color because I wanted it to be the same color. So that's what I'm going to do again. So hashtag 49, I believe 69, 5C is what it was. Yes. Okay, run that. So it should be the same color now. But for educational purposes, let me actually change it back to coral so you can actually see what I'm doing and you don't get confused with the header. And then we'll change it at the end. So here's we have coral. There we go. Okay. So, and then we're going to add a 5 pixel padding to the navigation bar. So let's do padding 5 pixels. Okay. Then we're going to target the unordered list itself, and we're going to zero out the padding. Okay. Oh, we didn't target it. So hashtag Navbar and then unordered list. Okay. And then we're going to remove the bullet points. So the way we do that is we do list style property again. So when it comes to list, we want to use list style property and we want to set that equal to none. So if we run that, now we don't have the bullet points anymore. Okay. So then here is where the display property comes in handy. We're going to actually target the navbar list themselves. So we're going to do hashtag navbar li. Okay. And this is where, again, it comes in handy. So right now, the navigation bar is actually more like a more vertical than horizontal, and bars are usually horizontal and long. We want them to be horizontal and long. So we want the links themselves to literally go from being block to inline. So we want these links to be in the same line. So to do that, we're going to change the display to inline, just like I showed you in the beginning. So we're going to change the display to inline. Okay, run that. And now you can see that it's looking more like an actual bar or a navigation bar. Now the links are actually in the same line as the other links, okay? So that's how we use display here. Oh, I didn't even go to the background color. Okay, so let me know when you have all of that, and then I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually talk about the container.
I have it all.
Okay, so if you go back to the nav bar itself and you realize you see the background color. So if you go to index.html and you go to the container, you see that the unordered list is actually inside the container, but not the nav bar itself. And that's because the container, if we set the background color equal to something, right, to the nav bar, and the nav bar would be inside, then it wouldn't have applied to the entire screen, and we want it to apply to the entire screen. For example, if we run this, you can see that because the navigation bar is actually inside the container now, it only takes up 100% of the container instead of 100% of the screen. So that's why we added the nav bar outside of the container. So if we move this here outside of the container, we run that again, we see that now the navigation bar, the color or the background color is 100% of the screen instead of 100% of the container. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So yes, because remember we set the container to be, I think, 80% of the screen. Let me actually go and check. So yeah, we set it equal to be 80% of the screen. So the navigation background color would only be 80% of the screen, right? Because it would be inside the container. That's why we put it outside of the container, because we want the background color to extend through 100% of the screen or extend out of the container. Okay, so that was a container, and then I showed you display inline, and then we're going to target the actual links themselves. So we're going to do hashtag navbar. I believe we can do just the links. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to remove the underline from the links. We don't really want that. So again, if you remember, we use this property called text decoration. And right now it's set equal to underline, but we want it to be none. Okay, run that and it should get rid of the underline. There we go. Okay, now it's a little hard to see, so we're going to set the color of the actual link to be white. Not the actual link, of the actual links. There are multiple links. Okay, run that and they should turn white. Perfect. Now we're going to set the font size to 16 pixels. So font and then size, set it to 16 pixels. Run that. Okay, should stay the same. And then we're going to add a 20 pixel padding because we want there to be a little bit of space between each link. So we're going to add, we could do this overall, or we can just do a right padding. So like add some space to the right. Let me show you both ways actually. So 20 pixel padding, run that, and it's going to make it a little bit bigger like that. It's going to have 20 pixels here, 20 pixels here, 20 pixels here, 20 pixels here. Or we can do padding right and then 20 pixels, and it should still be the same. It should still give you like space for space in the right, so basically between each link. But we want to leave it as padding 20 pixels overall, so it looks even, it's evened out, and it has equal padding on all sides. Okay, all right. So the next thing, I'm actually going to leave a little bit of this just in case you're still copying. So the next thing is targeting the navbar link and specify the hover state. So what we want to do right now, if we hover over it, we don't see anything. But if you actually go back to the project and you hover over the actual links, you actually see that the background color changes, and also, why is it like that? Let me reload this 1 second. Okay, the background color changes and also the color of the text. So the color of the text turns coral, and then the background color of the actual link turns white. Okay, so you can see that. So that's the goal with what we're going to do here. Okay. So again, links have their state, and one of their states it's called hover. So we're going to target the nav bar, target the link, and then we're going to use a colon, and we're going to specify the state hover. And let me move that bracket to the bottom here. We're going to set the background color that I want to appear when I hover over the link. So that's going to be, let's do white. And then I'm going to set the color of the text that I want to appear when I hover over the link. So that is going to be coral. Let's run that. Okay, so when you run it, you're not going to see anything unless you hover over it. So when you do hover over it, now you can actually see that it changes the background color and it also changes the color of the text. It's a little bit big though. So let's change the padding to be, let me see, 15 pixels. Don't change anything. I'm just going to experiment a little bit here. Let's see. There we go. Okay, let's do a little bit, maybe 11 pixels. Okay, there we go. So go back to the actual navigation bar itself and change the padding to from 5 pixels to 13 pixels. So the reason why is because the hover was actually bigger than the actual navigation link itself, and now it's just the right size. So it was 5 pixels, change it to 13 pixels, and it should give you this, where it's actually not going overboard. So let me know when you have that.
I haven't.
Okay. So there we go. Okay, so that's the navigation bar. You're done with that. Notice that if you click on it, for me, it actually it should bring you to an actual page too. But let me go back. The reason why, again, is if you go to index.html, I actually specified each link. So this is the actual navigation bar, right? With the HTML. So you can, again, I showed you how to reference to actual files. It was one of the link things that Janelle actually taught. So referencing to actual files in your replet. So for example, this is index.html, so it references to index.html. This is the blog.html. So when you click on blog, it's going to take you to, where is it? Blog.html right here. So click on blog, it's going to take you to this, okay? So just wanted to make sure that was known, just in case you forgot or you were a little confused as to how the tabs work. Okay. So moving on to the showcase. So the showcase is basically this right here. We have the about me and we have this here, but we want to add the image. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to target the showcase. So let me see, is it an ID? So the showcase has an ID of just showcase, all lowercase. So let me go back to this. So we're going to target showcase. Okay, move this curly bracket all the way to the bottom here before section 4 because it is a lot. Okay. So we have showcase. We targeted the showcase. Don't know why that's here. Should be under the target. There we go. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the width of the showcase to be 100% so that it takes up 100% of the screen. Okay. So that's using the width property. So 100%, set it equal to 100%. Right now, you're not going to see any difference, right? Only when you're adding the image, you're going to see the difference, okay? Then we're going to set the height of the showcase to be 500 pixels, and you might need to change this depending on the size of the image, but we'll get there. So we're going to set the height equal to 500 pixels. Okay. And then this is where the new stuff comes in. I haven't taught you this yet, but it's the last thing I believe that I have to think. No, I have to teach you about floats with the block page, but that's going to be the last thing. So we're going to add a background image. So the way you add a background image to a box, instead of adding just an image, you can actually add a background image. The way you do this is with a property actually called background image. So we're going to do background. Let me tab. So background image, colon, and then you do URL, and then you're going to copy the link for this, and you're going to paste it in there. But don't do that just yet because you're actually going to do your own here. Let me see. You could either copy the link or you can do yourself a favor and just write the name of the file, which is what I'm going to do. Let's see. Okay, there. There we go. It's right here. Okay. So let's see. To save time, I'm not gonna have you make your own right now. I'll actually have you do it by yourself with your own project. For now, just use the one that we have here, which is mine. Let's go back to our index.html. So yeah, so just reference to this image file right here, and it should pop it up for you. Okay, let me know when you're done with that. Make sure you add a semicolon too. Forgot about that.
I added it.
Okay. So the next thing you want to do is you want to specify the background position to be centered to the right. So the way we do this is we're going to use this property called background position, and then so background position, and then we're going to do center, okay? And then we're going to do to the right. Run that. Okay, and now it is centered, okay? So let me actually open that up. So you can see that now it's centered. Okay. Where were we? Okay, there we go. So you could also, let's actually experiment. So you could also set it center to the left, and then it's gonna end up being something like this. It's not really gonna, it's gonna go back to where it was, but we want it centered to the right. So let's do that. Okay. Now we're gonna set the background repeat to no repeat because what it does is it actually repeats the image if it's too small. So if I actually comment this out, let me actually see if it works here. Hold on. So comment out your width and your height by doing asterisk and slash. Run that. So depending on the size of your image, it usually repeats. But I think what I did, I actually went on a web page and I changed the image to be the exact size that I wanted it to be so it doesn't repeat. But usually what happens is if you have an image that's really small, it actually repeats and repeats and repeats. So you see multiple of the images and it's kind of hard to resize. So what you want to do is you want to set the background repeat equal to no repeat, semicolon. So it didn't show it here, but I'm sure that when you get to your own coding, you're going to come across that issue. And the way you can fix that is by setting the background repeat to no repeat. Okay. All right. Here's the spelling error. Okay, set the minimum height to 300 pixels. So this is so the height of the background or the box grows as the text grows. So right now, the text is actually not growing as the box grows, but let me actually show you the final product and show you how it does grow here. Okay, so for example, if you take a look at the final product, what it means by the box growing, so as the box grows, so for example, like this, the text grows along with it. Okay, so that's what it means. All right. Let's go back to the actual code. All right. So we're going to use this property called minimum height. And it actually is abbreviated with min height. So set it equal to 300 pixels. So once it passes 300 pixels, the text is going to grow with the box. Okay. And we're going to set the background size to be 100%. So we're going to do background size 100%. And we're going to do specify position. So again, position to be relative. So this is so we can position the about me heading. So run that. Okay, there we go. Target showcase heading 1. So showcase heading 1 is the about me. So we're going to target the showcase heading 1. Oh, so that's where, let's see, that's where the showcase ends. So make sure to add a bracket there and go all the way to the end and delete that bracket that was there. So target showcase heading 1. Okay. Set the font for the heading 1. What is that? Delete all that. So the font family. We can set it any equal to anything. I'm going to set it equal to Montserrat. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Okay, we're going to set the font size to be 85 pixels. Okay, run that. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. Set the position to be absolute, so it moves relative to the showcase. And then we're going to specify the actual position we want. So we're going to do from the top, we want it to be 150 pixels. So what that's going to do, it's going to bring it a little bit down. So there's going to be from the top of the showcase 150 pixels. And from the left of the showcase 130 pixels. So that's going to move it to the right. A bit counterintuitive when it comes to the wording, but there we go. There we go. So now it's right about where we want it to be. Okay. And then, where were we? Okay, and then that's that for heading 1. Then we're going to target showcase heading 2. So that's going to be showcase heading 2. Okay, we're going to set the font for heading 2. Don't know why I have heading 1 here. Heading 2. We could just copy it here. Paste that. And then set the font size. We're actually going to do Montserrat semi-bold. So let's do that. So it looks kind of where we want it to be. Then we're going to set the font size to 32.75. We're going to set the position to be relative so that it moves relative to the last targeted ancestor, which in this case, the last one is actually showcase heading 1. So it's not going to move relative to the showcase. It's going to move relative to showcase heading 1. So we're going to do position relative. And then we're going to actually set the position. So from the top, we want it to be 230 pixels. And then from the left, we want it to be 0 pixels. So basically, we want it to have the same alignment from the left. And then we're going to set the color of heading 2. So the color, let's say we want it to be 132540. So we're going to do hex code 132540. And then we're going to add some line spacing. So this is a new property. So this is line height. And we're going to do 1 EM. So it's a new kind of measurement. So there we go. So we have the about me, and then we have high school student with a knack for anything, blah, blah, blah. We could actually change that to anything. We have the color and it's aligned. So let me show you. So when you actually open it on the web page, you can see that it's actually aligned here. Okay. All right. So let me know when you have all of that and if you want me to go back to anything.
I have all of it.
Okay. And then the last thing for the web page is the footer. So you're going to target the main footer. So I believe it's main footer like this. We're going to set the background color for the footer. So again, I would like the green color that I'm using. So background color. And once you use a color, it should just pop up here. So 48695C. Here is another spelling mistake. So background color. Okay, there we go. So we see the footer right at the bottom. Okay, then we're going to set the background color for the text that will appear on the footer. So that's going to be white. And then we're going to align the text to the center. So we're going to do text align. So this is a new property I haven't showed you yet. So what this does, it aligns it vertically. So we're going to just do to the center. And we're going to add a padding of 20 pixels. And then at the end, we're going to zero out the margin because we don't want any space in between the showcase and the footer. Okay, and when you open that up, this is going to be your final result. And it looks just like the final product, except that the nav bar is a different color. So that's what you should have. Let me go back to the code just in case I went too fast there. So let me know when you have all of that.
Can you go down a bit?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I got it.
Okay. So that's basically your home page. Now there's one last thing I wanted to show you. We have 4 minutes left. If are you comfortable with staying like, I don't know, like maybe 5 minutes after?
Sure.
Okay. So this is your homepage, right? So now let's say you want to do a blog. So you could either work with boxes by using positioning, which I already have a video for and already showed you also. Or you can use this thing called floats. And what this does, it actually floats your elements. And so you know how sometimes in like a book you have like a paragraph and then you have an image kind of surrounding, or you have like a paragraph surrounding an image. Have you ever read that, like seen that?
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of what it is. Like your paragraph is floating around that image. So it's surrounding the image. But you could also use floats to actually align or like display your web page. And so for example, let me actually show you the final product so you could have a reference of what I'm talking about. Let's see. Okay. So for example, if you take a look at my screen, you can see that I have these little boxes here, like Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, etc. And they're all aligned and it's pretty cool, right? But the way I actually get them to be like that is by using this display called float. So I'm actually simply going to show you, let's see, what that looks like. I believe I don't have it here. This is the template. Okay, so let me open it up. My replets. Okay. So if we go to blog.css, Let me run that. Okay, so it's a little bit, it's not a good display right now, and that's easily fixed with something called Flexbox, but that's going to be for another course. So it actually looks good when you open it full page, but right now I'm just going to leave it like this. To show you how to get it like this, actually, again, here's the actual display float. So if we didn't have this display, and let's say I just delete it, what that's going to do, let me open again. It's actually going to be like this. So let me share that screen. So it's going to end up being like this, right? All on top of one another. So that's what you're going to have just by doing, your normal HTML, your normal CSS. So this is everything else is not going to be new to you. The only thing that's different is just float left, and all that does, it just floats all your elements to the left. So it's pretty cool. Very easy. And then the one other thing is box sizing. You want to set it equal to border box, because what this does, it takes in the padding and the border and it applies it to the width itself, like the width that it already has, instead of adding to it. So the box sizing CSS property sets how the total width and height of an element is calculated. So you just want to make sure you add that in there. And that's pretty much it. We went over border radius. We went over states. So links are not the only thing that have states. You can apply the hover states to buttons as well. So for example, I did the same thing. So as you can see, it hovers and it changes the background color. What else? We went over text decoration. We went over text align. So what that does, it aligns the text vertically. Okay. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. You can email me. Let's see. So your project is, again, it's a portfolio of you. I gave you the template. You already copied it. Sorry, not copied it, forked it. And it should have the index.html code already as an example, and it should have the outline for the index.css. This is the key. So you also have access to the key. I posted it on Google Classroom. You have access to the Canva background picture, so you can add your picture. I actually removed mine, so you could add yours. Add your picture, and then you could download it, save it as bg.png or whatever you want, and then just insert it as your background image. And you can play around with it. You can experiment. You can let me know by all means if you have any trouble. We can definitely do this together, because I know it's a lot to cover. But basically the requirements, all you're required to do is the homepage, the contact, and the my work page. So my work is basically, you can even see it in the key that I posted. It's basically, I added just boxes, I added a heading, and then I added links to my projects. Okay, so you could do the same thing. So this is very basic, nothing too complicated. I didn't want you adding any images, etc. But if you want to go ahead and do that, you can do that. Again, I know it's a lot. Let me know if you need more time, or if you want to work on it together Thursday or Wednesday, just email me, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank
No
you.
problem. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.